All right, it's been a while since we did a live stream like this in the car. Things have been pretty busy on this end. But last night I posted a picture of my TV screen, in the RV of the movie Nomadland. I had a chance to watch it last night, and thought it was an interesting movie. Some viewers asked me, if maybe I could give my thoughts on it. So I thought I'd go ahead and make a video. If you haven't seen Nomadland, that's what the movie's called, Nomadland. It won all sorts of awards and stuff. But it's a story about van dwellers. And interestingly, it had real van dwellers in it, including Bob Wells and RTR and all the people who show up. So it was really interesting because it had real van dwellers in it. And I think it tells like a generic story. I don't know if Fern, the character, is a real van dweller, but her story is her story. And what's interesting about it is, I think her story is just one of tens of thousands of stories of van dwellers. I know the people I have met, the van dwellers, and even the non-dwellers that I've met since this channel has started, have some very interesting and often tragic stories. For those of you who don't know the story of Fern, I see all you guys there saying hi. I'm sorry I'm not saying hi back. I can only glance real quick because I'm driving, but the story is about Fern, who is a widow, and she's like 60-something. I think she's probably like 60, in her 60s, her mid-60s, I think. And her husband used to work at, I guess, some kind of mine or something. And they were living in a city that was set up for the mine, or whatever that business was, and then they went out of business, and then the whole town ended up closing, and her husband died. They don't really get too much detail into that, but he died, and Fern, the lady, was kind of left by herself. And apparently she had family, like her sister. They offered for her to come live with her, but Fern decided she wanted to go on her own. And so she got a van and started to live in it. And of course, living in a van eventually bumps into somebody who lives in a van that knows about Bob Wells. So one of the van dwellers that she bumped into told her, like where to get jobs and things like that. So they did a lot of stuff that the van dwellers, the real van dwellers, do, like Amazon and what's it called, the sugar beets. They go around like picking different things throughout the year, seasonal work, and then park work, where they work as park rangers or whatever. So the van dwellers tend to travel that route, mostly in the Midwest. Okay, and most of them tend to be they move around, which is kind of different than me and the city dwellers, the stealth dwellers, because those people actually, I guess, encompass more of the nomad than the van dweller side of it, because they move so much. But I thought it was interesting because they pretty much covered what it was like, living in a van. If you're new to it, and the kind of stuff you encounter, like having to poop in a bucket and the knock, I think they even had a scene, they didn't mention it, but she was parked at a Walmart parking lot. So anyone who's lived in a van kind of has experienced pretty much all the aspects that they did in the movie, although to an extent I think they somewhat kind of glamorized it a little bit. They didn't show all the bad stuff, but I guess the movie would be too much of a downer and not much of a story if it just showed somebody suffering the entire time. but for those of you who aren't van dwellers, living in a van is not a picnic, okay? It's not like those Instagram models and stuff that make it seem like it's exciting. I guess it depends on the reason you became a van dweller. Like in Fern, that's the main character's case. I don't think she originally wanted to be a van dweller. She just became that because her husband died and she didn't have enough money to afford a regular house and things like that. So she ended up becoming a van dweller, somewhat similar to me in that she had to survive, and that's how she ended up in her van. But unlike me, you know, she did have opportunities that came up in the story where her sister kind of pretty much begged for her to stay with her when her van broke down and she didn't have any money. Anyone who lives in a van that doesn't have a lot of money has probably experienced that, because you're like always on the edge. Like you know, you don't know if what you're gonna do when you don't have the money to fix your van, which is essentially your house. And if you can't get your van fixed, you're going to be homeless. You're like one step away from homelessness. So she ended up, when her van broke down, she basically contacted her sister, and her sister paid her money to get the van fixed. But her sister asked her to stay, and she still didn't want to stay. But you can see the people who don't live in a van, they don't really understand, you know, the mentality of somebody that's living in a van. Sorry about the disconnect here, because I'm driving, and I don't know, this area has bad internet. But the people who don't live in a van, they see van dwellers as like maybe just wanting to escape, you know, not really wanting to fit in. But I think for Fern, it was more about trying to find her life, you know, not really depending on other people, even though in that case she did depend on her sister to bail her out. But during her travels, she met another van dweller who was a guy that was about her age. And he seemed like a nice guy. I guess it's a real van dweller, or maybe an actor for the part. I don't know if Fern is an actor or not, or actress. But he actually, you know, worked in a lot of the places with her and seemed like he was nice to her. And looked like he had romantic interest in her, you know. But his son, you know, the guy's son, had a little baby, and decided to come track him down at one of the locations where he was currently staying, and basically asked him to come move back in, and he did. And before he left Fern, you know, at that national park that they were at, he left her a little note with his address so that she could stop by, you know, because I guess he wanted to stay in touch with her. And eventually she went by there to see him. You know, it took a while, like maybe probably about 6 or 8 months, because that's how old the baby was when she showed up. So I'm assuming, you know, the baby was born, so it's probably 6 months later, 8 months later. But she showed up and saw that his van was all run down with a flat tire and stuff, and then realized he wasn't planning on returning to van life. The guy had, you know, lived in van life, was traveling and doing all the jobs and stuff that van dwellers do. And he pretty much told her that she could stay. You know, he wanted her to stay because he liked her. And they showed a scene where, you know, she's sitting there, I guess pretending that she's back in the house, you know, living there, to see if she would fit in, where she sat at the the dining table and stuff. And then eventually you see her go back out to her van. Because I look at Fern, like, you know, an older lady who would struggle. And I think she would have been better off, you know, living like a regular house if she had the opportunity, because it didn't seem like she wanted to be a van dweller. It looked like it was thrown at her. But when she was given at least 2 opportunities to get out of van dwelling, she declined. I don't know the reasoning for that. You know, I can understand if somebody chooses the van life and, you know, they pretty much love all of it and do it because they enjoy it. But if you're in a situation where you had to become a van dweller just because you can't afford rent. All right, we're in an area with really, really bad internet. I can't believe I'm in the middle of a city and the internet is so bad around here. Not so much the internet, but the cellular, you know, for the internet. Anyhow, let's get back. Bob Wells was featured on the movie Nomadland, and he actually talked about his son, and it looked like he was crying for real. It didn't look fake. So I'm assuming what he said about his son was true, which is really sad. You know, if you know Bob Wells' story, let me know if that was true or not. But they also had a featured van dweller that died. I don't know if it's real, if she really died in real life. But, you know, my encounters with van dwellers, especially some of the older people, they tend to have, like, multiple issues, like possibly medical, and some of them have, like, terminal issues, potentially terminal. And to me, you know, to me, it's a commentary on how sad things are that the people, because they showed the van dwellers as people who had like real careers, real jobs. You know, they actually lived life doing service and doing real jobs, you know, things that help society. But then somewhere along the line, things went wrong or whatever, like retirement, not paying enough. People only getting like $500 retirement. You know, you can't live off that. So what are you supposed to do? You know, a lot of people discover like Bob Wells' channel and decide to take on the nomad life. You know, for me, I know some people think that I promote van dwelling, but anyone who has watched me regularly knows that I'm actually not one of those people who promote van dwelling. I'm actually the opposite. I'm the anti Bob Wells, in the sense that, you know, I don't really promote living in a van if you have a choice, unless you're choosing it, you know, to do it, and you have the resources to do it, and it's something you want to do, either for fun or something you want to do as one of your bucket list things, or one of the things you just want to do with your life. Not something that you should do if you're in a situation where you might become homeless. I think living in a van should be your last choice. You know, it's one step above being out on the street with no protection at all. But I'm glad they mentioned Bob Wells and his channel, you know, his YouTube channel, as well as the website, because he does provide a lot of information. But Bob Wells, I think from my perspective, I think he tends to promote it, you know, push it out there. And really, for me, it's like a last resort, short of being on the streets. And I know some people love it, okay? I'm not saying that all van dwellers are sad or one step above homelessness on the street. What I'm saying is, if you're not one of those people who want to live in a van and, you know, like a really hard life, surviving like day by day, minute by minute, if you're not one of those people, van dwelling is not something you should be trying to get into. It should be something you can prepare for in the event that you have no other option. But if you can get into, you know, some kind of social program or something that's available that can get you into housing, you know, or your family is taking you in till you get you back on your own feet, you should take that option. Becoming a nomad and living on the road in a van is actually very hard. It's not like they make it seem on a lot of the YouTube channels. And I think, you know, that's the one thing the nomad land kind of accomplished to an extent. But I don't think they showed how miserable it truly can be, especially for somebody who doesn't know, you know, like the basics of even how you go to the bathroom, how you make electricity, how you cook food, how you deal with the knock. What I thought was interesting was, and I guess it's true for the nomads, they follow the work route and they follow the seasons. So the movie, for the most part, took place, it seemed like, mostly winter. You know, and they were mostly out in the desert, out in the west, because I guess that's where all the nomad type jobs are, is out in the west. You know, farms and things like that, and the national parks. So I thought it was interesting that, you know, that was the only aspect that they showed. I guess you can't really show everything and all the different nomads, all the different type of van dwellers and stuff like that. So they focused on mainly the group that basically are full-time nomads, moving from place to place, usually chasing a job. Now, that's only one aspect of van dwelling. I'm going to try to read here. And Renegade says the number one thing to be able to do is to be mentally prepared. Yeah, a lot of people really don't understand that there's a lot of stuff you don't know until you do it, but really you need to be prepared for kind of isolation, being able to handle things like what happens if you get a flat tire. You know, like if you go out into the middle of nowhere and something happens to the vehicle, there might not be any help. You're actually on your own. I never really, as a van dweller, ventured out into the wilderness, you know, as far as going out into the desert or anything as a van dweller and trying to survive out there, because, one, I'm not one of those nomad people. I didn't choose to live in a van on purpose. I did it as a survival step just to get me to the next step. And I stayed in the city, which gave me a lot of safety measures, that you wouldn't have if you were actually out in the boonies, out in the desert, out in the national parks and things like that by yourself. Can you imagine if your car, your van gets stuck? How do you get out? Who do you call? AAA ain't gonna go out there to dig you out of in the desert. So I'm gonna take a time here to read some of your comments and stuff. Might talk a little bit more about this later, because there is a major change that's about to happen to me and this channel. I'll let you guys know once I know. I'm kind of waiting for something to happen or not happen within the next 2-3 weeks. If it happens, I'll let you guys know. But it could be the end of my situation. At least the end of Denoy living in a van. Because I'm working on something that could end up, if it pans out, I won't be homeless anymore. Don't know yet. We'll see what happens. I didn't know if I was going to even tell you guys this, but I guess I'll tell you, because it affects everybody that likes this channel and wants to watch it or not watch it, follow me and my story. But the story as far as me becoming homeless and moving into the van and making it to this point is about to end. So, if things go smoothly, I don't know if I'm going to be on YouTube anymore. I may just disappear. I know some of you don't understand that, but I really didn't want to be on YouTube. I kind of shared my story because I thought that some people might benefit from it, especially like vets, veterans, military vets, going through similar things. And I might, before I end this channel, I'll give you some pointers and stuff that ended up helping me at the end. Because I'll be honest, one of the reasons that this is my story is about to end right now is Shani for Christ lost her channels to trolls. I'm going to read your comments here in a moment so I can try to answer your questions and address these things. But for me, being on YouTube, putting my life out there, you don't realize, like if somebody was commenting about the trolls and stuff like that, what happens is you get to see the really nasty, bad side of people. People on social media, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or whatever, they don't behave like people. They don't behave like real people. They behave like, some of them, monsters. And they start to attack you and your family and stuff, sometimes even wanting to try to get you to kill yourself. That kind of stuff. And when you're in a vulnerable position of being homeless or whatever, there's a lot of mental issues going on. Already you're in an environment where you're constantly on high alert because, you could get mugged, you can get attacked, police can come get you, they could take your vehicle can break down. You don't know if you're going to have another job, you don't know if you can get a job, you don't know, what you're going to do next. And that's the thing about living in a vehicle if you don't have the funds and stuff for it, if you're not doing it by choice. So what I will do, before I officially end the living in a van portion of it, is probably do a recap to try to help people who don't want to live in a van. Because you can kind of benefit from my experience of having to live in a van without wanting to live in a van. I'll leave the information up for people just to help them out, with how to hook up the electric and stuff like that, so you can charge your phones and things, or maybe do a condensed version, like a really quick step for those who are about to be homeless. But I'll try to point out how you could kind of not become homeless, potentially. At least the route I ended up going on. So maybe that'll save you time. Because for me, the journey started about 10 years ago. And officially, from becoming a van dweller, homeless and living in a van, about 6 years ago. And, for the past year or so, I haven't really been living in a van. I've been mostly living in my RV paying rent. So, it's not the same. Living in an RV is like a gazillion times better than living in a van, just because it's bigger. It's like a house. You have access, especially if you're boondock somewhere and you have electricity and running water, because you can shower, You can cook your food. You can do all that stuff. But we'll talk about all that later for maybe in another video. Just for a big tip for anybody about to lose their home and how to try to get into a new home or whatever, especially veterans, because you might be like me. You might qualify for certain things, and you may have assistance that you didn't know of, because I didn't know it was out there until now. So, you know, the situation that's going to end for me is because the VA ended up stepping in, and you know, they're basically changing everything. But it took this community, the YouTube community, basically helping me survive this long, just long enough to get to this point. And I think what I will do is do a special video just dedicated to trying to help people with some pointers so that you don't make the same mistakes I did. And if you're a veteran, to make you aware of resources that may be available to you that you may not know of, because I didn't know they were available. Because, you know, my service time was so long ago. You know, I served in 1980s, the mid 80s, and surprisingly, the VA is still trying to protect me. You know, they feel like, I guess it's like the nation saying, we haven't forgotten you. And they've been helping, and I think with their assistance, this last boost will get me out of being homeless, and basically can change the situation. I've almost been reset, and having this job actually helps. You know, the job that I'm working really helps. Having a job really helps. But we'll talk about that later. I'm going to read your comments and try to address them real quick here. George, good to see you on here. Daniel, good to see you. And MoBang. Hey, by the way, I wanted to point out MoBang, Timothy's channel. If you're not aware, Timothy has started doing like live broadcasts. Some of you like to chat, especially van dwellers and stuff. Timothy has some programs that he's using, because I guess he has better Wi-Fi, better internet connection. But he's able to do like live chats with multiple people. So, you know, if you like chatting with real van dwellers, whether or not you're a van dweller, but I think he mostly contacts other van dwellers. But you can participate in their chats, and I think that's a really cool thing to do. So make sure you check out Timothy's MoBang FoYoBucks channel for that. And of course, Timothy's doing his own little journey and stuff. So a lot of interesting content on that end, and it's pretty much, you know, current. So you can watch what's happening right now with Timothy on his journey. For those of you who don't know Timothy, Timothy was a viewer on this channel who recently retired, and one of his dreams was to live the van life, to travel across the United States on a budget. And so if you follow him on that, Timothy's also a great guy, because he actually, a lot of times his trips aren't just a trip for fun. He's actually got a purpose, like heading somewhere to help somebody. So he's got a really good heart. Watch his channel, tune in for his chats. I think they're really cool. Okay, let's continue on. Hello, Andrew. And Chicky. Is it Chichi? Renegade Ramblin' Van. If you haven't checked him out on his channel, I don't know if he started broadcasting again, but Renegade is also one of the viewers that was here that ended up on his journey. He had a personal journey for his mother that he was making, and you can kind of hear from his perspective what happens. You know, how when he first started, I guess he was really excited, but once he hit the road, he got to see kind of firsthand. I think that's like one of the things about life is, you know, when you see it on YouTube and you see other people, they tend to show the good. But when you actually experience it yourself, you get to see everything, the good and the bad. And it turns out that a lot of times, if you're not prepared, the bad can be very overwhelming. But if you watch Renegade, he had some medical issues and stuff that he's working through. Watch his channel, support him, chat with him. He's got some firsthand experience of what it was like. Basically, he built out a really nice van and took it on his trip. And I'm not sure what the status is. I haven't really been following, but he is one of the viewers on here, and he was on a couple of videos where we teamed up. Claire says, no, I'm not going to say that. Oh, yeah, I don't want to talk badly about other channels. Renegade says he's going to be back to Nomad next week. So Renegade apparently is continuing the van life and probably more experienced now. So, that's the one thing is once you can get over the hurdle, I think the hardest thing is getting adjusted to everything. The world changes, like having access to running water, having the ability to take a shower, take a dump as many times as you want, and flush it. All these things that don't seem important, they become super important when you're the one that has to deal with it all. Hey, Donna, good to see you on here. Hopefully you're still on here. And Donna says Bob Wells' story about his son is true, which is very sad. I'm not sure of the timeline and stuff, but it is very sad. And I think that what I might try to do on this channel, if Timothy's not already doing a MoBang for his bucks, I may, if I end up not being a van dweller anymore, if I end up in a little bit more stable environment, and I might pay for internet, to get a internet connection, like a cable internet or something, I may do a weekly show and just interview people, van dwellers or not, doesn't really matter, but just to share your life story. That was one of the projects I wanted to work on, was actually a feature story about a person. And, that Nomadland was the story of one person. And I think that a lot of people on this channel have their own stories that they can share and maybe people can learn from. If nothing else, I think sharing it makes it seem like you're not by yourself. You've got other people with you. So we may do that, and that depends on whether or not the plans work out and I end up getting a place and being able to get Wi-Fi and stuff like that. Because if that happens, I'll be doing more live broadcasts, possibly interviews and stuff online with audience that can chat and ask questions and things like that. Maggie noticed my haircut. I just got it cut yesterday. My first haircut that I didn't do myself. I ended up going to Walmart and I had them cut the hair. And by the way, Walmart and I guess other haircut places now, they charge you a fee. I think it was like $4 or $5 for a sanitation fee, I guess apparently they must have never sanitized their stuff before. But now, thanks to COVID, they're supposedly sanitizing things and they charge you an extra fee on that. But I went ahead and got the haircut, gave her a really nice tip because, I think the haircut type places have been suffering, these kind of service industries. So gave her a tip, but got my hair cut by somebody. Decided to get it cut pretty short. Felt good. Felt good to get a real haircut instead of me, All right, let's continue on. Angry and Malik, good to see you on here. But Maggie was saying about my haircut. Something funny that at work happened today. Okay, so I go in with this haircut, and I had my mask. I had my little mask on. Okay, I had my little mask. Nobody can see anything. So I had my little mask, but they can see my hair and stuff, and nobody notices except for two people. And in two different spots, two different locations. The first guy that noticed was a dude who had really long ponytail. He says, "Hey, nice haircut." And half of the day had already gone by, and I was like, wow, he's the first one to notice, probably because he has extremely long hair, a ponytail. And he said that he was letting it grow out, and he doesn't cut it until the rocket launches. The project he's working on, whatever rocket program that he's working on, when it launches, then he cuts his hair. So he said it's been at least 4 years. So his hair was like really long, 4 years worth of growth. And I suggested maybe he could donate his hair, to like Locks of Life or whatever, some kind of. But he said, yeah, he donates the hair after he cuts it. So that's something that you can consider doing if you have long hair and you want to cut your hair. Donate your hair to, I don't know if it's Locks of Life or some other programs where people need hair, like possibly cancer patients and things like that. They use your hair to make like wigs and things, so that those, the people who don't have hair because they had a hair loss due to medical treatments and stuff like that can get real human hair. So that's something you can do with your hair if you want to donate it. But the other person that noticed was a guy who had no hair. So I thought it was interesting that the two people out of the entire place that noticed was one who had extremely long hair and one who had no hair. All the other people, they didn't even notice. Nomad Monger says, Nomad Monger was in a movie with Mama Guys. Awesome. And Maggie Smith says, Linda May and Swanky were also in the movie except for her cancer. Todd, I'm doing well. Doing very well. I'm, like I said, my situation may be ending or changing. And, you know, I'm going to check to see if the viewers actually want to continue following on. But if you do follow on, things are going to change drastically because, you know, I'm not going to be really van dwelling. But potentially, I could be traveling. We'll see what happens. This whole COVID thing is still messing things up for travelers who want to travel. But my situation is almost completely okay right now. I think I'm about 90% where I need to be. And I'm working on the other 10%. So, assuming everything goes smoothly, things are going to change very drastically on this end. I will probably archive this channel and potentially make new videos, just real quick videos for people who in an emergency situation have to live in a vehicle. And then a quick video specifically for vets that find themselves in a situation. And, you know, that's basically it. But I'll leave pretty much everything intact. And I might make one master playlist. So that if you want to watch everything, basically the last 3 or 4 years, you can see it kind of in order. And Gail says, Denoy, you're looking great. Yeah, hopefully next broadcast, I'll have teeth. I'm supposed to go in next Monday to get the teeth. So if it goes smoothly, I don't know if I get the teeth, permanent teeth. No, it's not the permanent. Maybe it is. Because the last time I thought they did the, I don't know if it was, no, I think the next time is, I don't know if it's wax. I don't know. I'll find out. I know next time I get teeth. I don't know if it's a real one or not. And Nomadic Monger says, Shani, for Christ, lost her channel to trolls. Yeah, the trolls are really bad. I was reviewing, you know, as I near the end of my van life journey, I was reviewing the channels that I used to watch of van dwellers. I used to kind of watch them and gauge how they were doing and how my channel was doing. And a lot of the original van dwellers are gone. They've actually left van dwelling. I'm going to mention some channels some of you may be familiar with. Just Incredible, who has his channel Just Incredible TV. You know, he's what is it? He started off promoting like living in a van, living in you know, I think he had a like Class B RV, really nice and stuff. So he was promoting all that, but checking his channel now, he's actually bought some land. You know, I think his mother had died. And then he ended up after that, shortly after that, getting some land. He bought some land on an island, I think in Canada somewhere. He's Canadian. And he's in process right now of building a tiny home, a tiny off-grid home. So if you want to follow that story, you can go to Just Incredible, you know, on YouTube. It's just type in Justin, Justin, Credible, Credible. I used to follow him when he was in the van and stuff. I wasn't like a regular follower, but I used to kind of watch his videos every so often. And he used to promote van life. Now, I don't know if he promotes it so much. He's kind of just living his life and wanting some stability. So he's moving into an off-grid home. And another channel that I used to watch quite a bit was Will Burson. I don't know if you remember Will Burson, who he was at one time promoting living in a van. And he had a van that he used to live in, and he was actually in Florida for some of the time. And then he started traveling the world. He was trying to show people how to retire, you know, young, like by the time they're 40. and he started traveling and stuff. So right now, he's not in a van either, and he's actually in Mexico. He was wanting to go to Thailand, and he's like upset about Thailand. I was telling you about all the expats and stuff being really mad or angry at the situation with Thailand right now with the COVID, but it's around the whole world. You know, travel is very limited and restricted. So he's currently in Mexico, living in Mexico. So you can look up Will, I think it's W-I-L-L Burson, B-U-R-S-O-N, if you want to follow his stuff. He's got 2 channels, but one of them, he's actually in Mexico right now, living there in a, I guess it's a condo. And then, who else? The other one was Into the Mystery 13, okay? I think his name is Jeb. He's now got an RV, you know, a full-long RV trailer, and I guess a truck. So he no longer lives in a van either. And I think they now pay to park at like various campgrounds, you know, or, you know, RV resorts and stuff like that. Because what happens eventually is this. If you're a lone van dweller and you meet a girl, or if you're a girl and you meet a guy, suddenly the van may or may not be adequate anymore, and you end up wanting to set up roots, you know, and have some kind of stability. Living in a tiny little van, always worried about the knock, you know, or finding a place to park and dealing with the bathroom situation and everything else, it's tough. And if you have a relationship with somebody, you now have 2 people that can work together to try to stabilize a situation. So he hasn't broadcast, I think, in about 7 or 8 months. And his last broadcast said he left van life, you know, and he was on a van dweller for, I think, about 3 or 4 years, actual full-time on the road, and had some adventures. And for a while, he was promoting it. So a lot of the people who originally, you know, were promoting van dwelling, they're no longer promoting it. Part of it is because they ended up not wanting to live in a van anymore. They found an ability to not live in a van, like they got a better job, or they got in a relationship and have moved out. So that was kind of interesting that it seems to be a pattern, you know, that the van dwellers do that. There are a couple, I guess, that shifted from van dwelling to RVs because they're more popular, like Nomadic Fanatic. I didn't really follow him too much, but I know originally he started in a van, and now he's in an RV, because there's a lot more viewers, you know, on those, and you can actually sustain a channel if you do RV instead of van life. The only van life channels that really seem to be promoted by YouTube tend to be the glamorous ones, the ones that I think aren't even real, because they get more views. Remember, it's all about views and how much ad revenue they can make, you know, and sponsorships and things like that. So YouTube is actually basically, I think, mostly promoting channels that aren't real as far as van life. I don't really know of very many real, true van life channels that are popular. They were popular originally because there weren't many, and the ones that were there were the real ones. Now there's literally millions, well, not millions, but hundreds of van dwelling channels, and a lot of them, you know, that tend to promote it and make it glamorous and stuff. And I think those people are doing a disservice to people, because people see the glamorous side and don't understand that it really is a hard life to try to live in a vehicle. Just continuing here. Old Gringo says, Nomadland was based on a book by Jessica Bruder, who followed a group out west, which is why it takes place in the West. Yeah. It's interesting because, you know, people see that movie and they think all van dwellers are like that. But there's so many different classes because everyone has a different reason and a different story. And the ones I've encountered here in Florida and stuff have been mostly people who lost their home. You know, they are trying to survive. And those are the group that I kind of lean towards supporting, in the sense that these are people who don't want to be in a van. And this is just a temporary situation. You're surviving long enough to get some stability to get out of there. In my case, it took quite a long time. Hopefully, you know, if I can condense it down, the last 6 years or so of pretty much van dwelling full time, people won't have to suffer. They can kind of skip ahead and hit the appropriate things that you need to do to try to get yourself out. So I'll probably do a video on that, you know, just for people who might find themselves in this situation. But also I'll continue putting out, you know, a new video about how to survive in your vehicle. It'll be basic stuff, just how you can hook up electricity and things like that and cook. All the stuff you guys have seen. But I want to do a condensed version so that people who need it have immediate access to it. Oh, Gringo, thank you for the congratulations. Donna wants to know if I'm getting medical care via the VA. I've been getting medical care via the VA since you guys, if you guys followed along, then you know how it kind of happened. The police caught me while I was a mailman in Jupiter. They caught me living in the van. Jupiter, for those of you who don't know, Jupiter, Florida is a very high-end, expensive area. They're very, you know, they have money down there. So the police are on constant patrol. And I was kind of foolish because, you know, I was fairly new to van life. And I decided, since I had a van and Florida has beautiful beaches and Jupiter has a beautiful inlet, I would live on the beach at the inlet. It's like a $30 million view. That's where I was sleeping. I was camping out at the Jupiter Inlet, which is beautiful because it had bathrooms, it had everything. And I was camping out there, and of course the rich people there called the cops. And eventually the cops came out and they caught me, even when I wasn't really there that day, but they caught me while I was going to the bathroom. And, you know, they have a bathroom there that you can use, but I just went in the bathroom and they had been looking for my van. You know, they had the reports of my van, and I couldn't believe how many police cars there were. They surrounded me like I'm some kind of vagrant or something. I'm like, dude, I'm your mailman. Then I had to show them, I had to show them my mail ID, that I'm their mail carrier, and I said, do not arrest me. You won't get mail tomorrow. So they didn't arrest me. They probably would have arrested me and impounded my van. But I showed them that I was a mail carrier. I told them, you know, the route and everything. I said, don't take me in. Don't even report me. If you report me to my postmaster, I'll lose my job. And you guys will lose your mail tomorrow. So the police there at Jupiter referred me to the VA. So if you're a veteran right now and you're homeless, the first thing you need to do is contact the Google closest VA medical center near me. Any VA hospital or clinic. Contact them, okay? I was going to say this for another video, but I'll mention it here briefly. Contact the local VA clinic or hospital and let them know you're a homeless vet, okay? That's those of you who are homeless or living in a van or whatever and don't want to be living in a van. Contact the VA and they will put you in touch with a social worker who will start the ball rolling. But not only that, if you're a homeless vet, regardless of your disability status and whatnot, they will actually take care of you medically, which is what happened to me. They helped me, and I thought I had a stroke, you know, several times, and other issues that came up. They were actually no cost. All I had to do was just show up. The VA gave me an ID, and they've been helping. So even my meds and stuff like that, you know, some people were talking about the price of medications and things like that being expensive, and they are. The VA gives it to me for free. So that's something that you can qualify for if you're a homeless vet. And I'm going to do another video to explain my situation and how it might apply to you and additional benefits you might have if you're a vet. Not everyone will have it. It's determined by the VA, but if you qualify, it could be a life changer. So stay tuned for that. I'll do a special video on that. Okay, I'm just scrolling through here. I've got to run though in a minute. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and sign out for now. This was way longer than I had intended, but I will do a follow-up video, you know, and let you guys know what's going on my end. Hopefully the next video you see me, I might have my teeth. And hopefully the next video, well, I may have my teeth, and then following that, maybe I might have a house. So until next time, everyone, take care. God bless you all. Please stay safe. Bye-bye now.